So last night I was beginning to doubt myself because I had hooked up what I thought would be a simplified inverter cooking system that could be routed. The wire would route the battery power here from the engine, the vehicle starter battery here, the live, the positive, comes down through there, through the vehicle, all the way up to the inverter itself here. And then the plan would be to take another wire and run it to the chassis, piece of metal on the chassis. But when I did that, the inverter would not work. So I thought there was something wrong, it was some kind of short circuit or something, and it wasn't working like I thought it should have. Because by having this go to the red, the positive, and having this go to the metal, it should have completed a circuit. And I had posed a question for viewers to see what they thought it might be. I posted the video right now, but I haven't heard back. But in the meantime, I was thinking about the situation last night and thought, you know what? When I was trying to clip it onto the metal, it might have been hitting paint. And even though you would think the paint wouldn't be enough to insulate the metal, it might be just enough to keep the metal from making a direct contact. So what I did today was I took the wiring here and I tried again. See how I have a little bit of bare metal there? And when I press it, see the spark? I don't know if you saw the spark there. That means we have metal-to-metal contact. Whereas yesterday, I was having issues making metal-to-metal contact. So when I put this on here like this, metal-to-metal here, let me see if I can get it to do it with my foot holding it in place. Okay, that's metal-to-metal. It's hard to do it one-handed here, but I've got metal-to-metal right here. Jeez, I'm having a hard time here. I might not be able to do it and film it, but essentially when I have this thing making metal-metal contact, let me try it again. But you can see all the sparks there. That is because it is making metal-to-metal contact. So I've got the positive going to the vehicle battery positive, and I've got the negative going to the chassis. And when I turn this on, it's not making good enough contact, I think. It has to make good enough contact, like metal-to-metal. It's not making good enough contact. That's what we were running into yesterday. But anyhow, I can't do it and hold the camera, but I would just tell you it does work as intended. So if you didn't have a house battery system, you could hook this up to the chassis as I was trying to show in yesterday's video, and it will work. You just need to make sure that you have sanded down any paint. And I'm going to put it through one of these screws here on the side here and just sand it and make sure that this part has direct metal-to-metal contact. And that should allow the circuit to work. To fix the issue with the bad contact, what I've done is I've unscrewed this panel right here, so you can see I can lift it up. And you see where that screw goes down there? I'm going to be sanding, using the sandpaper here to sand that area right there, to sand that down to bare metal. Then I'll be able to hook up the grounding wire, and it should make good contact. As you can see, I've sanded the area down to bare metal. It might be hard to see on here, but that is bare metal. So I'm simply just going to run the wire down there and then clamp it down, screw it in, and test out the system. Alright, I've taken the wire and I stuck it up underneath in there to the bare metal, and I screwed it in really tight. So it's making direct contact with the metal right now. And if everything is good, when I turn on the inverter right now, you'll notice there's no battery hookup right now, other than these lines. This line here, this one here that goes to the front of the vehicle, goes under the hood to hook up to the starter battery. That should complete the circuit to allow us to start the inverter. So let's turn it on. And voila, it's working. This is what I was expecting to happen yesterday, but I guess I didn't have good contact because of the paint that was still on the metal. I didn't realize the paint would actually be enough to stop the metal from making good contact and conducting electricity. But now we have a complete circuit, and let's take a look. The voltage right now, the vehicle battery is only 12.5. And it should go up when I start the vehicle up. So let's go ahead and start the vehicle up and then take a look. You can see here an old paint bucket from work. We're going to be turning that into a portalet. Emergency use, of course. So we're going to go ahead and start the vehicle up, and low battery here when I cranked it up. Let me turn it off and reset it. The power went down when I was cranking it because I think the battery was putting power into the starting. Let's turn it on now. It should be showing 13 something. 13.7, 13.8. That's what it should be showing. It's 13.5. So we don't have like a super strong battery, or the connection's not super good right now. But it is enough to run the inverter, because the inverter only needs like 12 volts. A 12.8 is like a full battery. So 13.5 is what it's at right now, and it should go up. It's chopping up and down depending on the connection, but the battery right now in the vehicle is charging back up. And I'm not going to hook up the house battery, which is under here yet, because I do want to test the system out without a house battery to see if it can cook like this. So now it's just a simple matter of hooking up a 120 volt appliance to here, like a rice cooker, and cooking. So if we can do that, then we've got a system that works without a house battery. We're basically using the vehicle battery as a house battery. But you want to make sure that you have the vehicle running when you're cooking, because when you try to cook with an inverter, you are going to drain that battery really fast. Like 10-15 minutes, the battery will be drained, and then you won't be able to start your car. So make sure that you have the system turned on, you know, the vehicle turned on before you try cooking. Now when I shut this off, the inverter shuts off and the battery's not being drained. So look forward to a Cooking with Denoy episode using this slightly modified inverter cooking system without a house battery, just to show you that it can be done. The only problem is, you know, you have to have the vehicle on to use the system. I mean, you can use if I left this on all night without the vehicle running, and I could hook up some small 12 volt appliances and stuff, it probably won't drain the battery, but a fan or something like that may drain the battery enough. So I would recommend only using it for like cooking or using tools and whatnot while the vehicle is running, because while you're doing that, the vehicle alternator is generating electricity and putting power back into the battery that you're draining through the inverter. So once we get the system working and you see that it works, we're going to go ahead and modify it further to include the house battery. That way the system can be used with the engine actually shut off, although still you don't want to cook with the engine shut off because it will drain the house battery. But by having a house battery, you'll be able to run fans and stuff all night without worrying about your car battery draining. The only issue then will be to separate the two. Right now there's a direct connection with this line, this positive line that goes up to the vehicle battery. And the problem is this: if you have no way of cutting that line to disconnect the power, the two batteries connect and act like they're one battery. So when you drain the house battery, you're going to start to drain the vehicle battery at the same time. So to fix that, what we're going to do is we are going to put in a manual switch. That was a cheap 120 volt light switch that I'm going to install, even though purists will say you should use a 12 volt. I have used 12 volts and they didn't work so well. So the 120 volts is the one I used previously, and it worked fine on little Bluetooth, so that's what I'm going to go with again. The other thing that you can do if you have a little bit of money is you can get what's known as a battery isolator. And you can install the battery isolator between this line here that goes up to the front and the battery. And then what happens is the battery isolator will only let electricity flow from the front battery down to the house battery once the front battery is charged. It will not let this battery drain the battery that's up front. So that's what the isolator will do. I'm not sure if I'm going to go ahead and install an isolator or not. You have to buy those, and I think you might be able to pick one up as low as 35 bucks or something like that. But I like the idea of having a manual switch so I can, you know, turn things on and off. And the reason for that is, if my vehicle battery ever drains down low for whatever reason, it may be possible for me to jump it by switching the switch that connects the two batteries on. Then the electricity from my house battery will flow into the vehicle battery to help charge it back up. Maybe enough to boost myself and give myself a jump start. And that's the reason I'd rather do that than have an isolator. Now, if you had an isolator, you don't have to worry about a switch that you might forget to shut off. But because the electricity only flows one way, you won't be able to easily jump start your vehicle unless you run another line, like a jump cable. So stay tuned to watch a Cooking with Denoy episode where we use this modified inverter cooking system that runs off the vehicle battery, but it's no longer sitting outside. It's going to be set inside so that we can cook while we're driving.